So I'm coming to you live from the Exotic Wedding Planning Conference here in Barcelona, where I'm surrounded by new and novice wedding planners who are all looking to extend their knowledge in the world of wedding planning. They're doing this by hearing from some fantastic speakers that form the panel here. And I'm lucky enough to be sat with one of them right now, Chloe Atlan. And Chloe's going to be talking to us about her experiences as a wedding planner in France. So Chloe, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'd like to start off by getting you to tell us a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and what you do.
So my name is Chloe Atlan. I'm the founder of Aava Wedding. So we are located in the south of France, French Riviera, in Cannes specifically. And we were the very first exclusive wedding planning company in France 15 years ago.
That's no mean feat, Chloe. That's quite impressive. So, Chloe, when I was preparing for this interview, I read that you'd done an internship with a really well-known company in Monaco. And of course, internships are really important, especially when you're learning. So I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about your experience with your internship and how it's helped you to shape your career today.
Yes, of course. So it was quite a long time ago now, 15 years ago, but I was only 21 and I was just graduated in a Bachelor of Communication. I was supposed to follow my studies, but so when I did my internship, they offered to take me on, and it was such a beautiful opportunity. So I accepted their offer, and so I began as a marketing assistant. So it was quite simple at the beginning. Yeah. And quickly, a few months after my arrival in the company, they offered me to become the marketing director. So I was very young, but I had to travel and to represent the company and to deal with huge communication budget, managing a team. So it was great, but it was very scareful at the same time. But I think that it really helped me because it gave me a lot of self-confidence and also a capacity of adaptation and of releasing stress, which is definitely very helpful in this job and in the fact to create our own company.
Well, obviously, managing stress is a huge thing, and you obviously learned a lot from that particular internship, but to be made marketing director at such a young age and to be given that responsibility is huge. So clearly it stood you in good stead for your company now. So on your website, you say, and I quote, your emphasis is on understanding who you are so that you can shape the event to reflect personalities. So why is that so important, and how do you shape an event to reflect the personality of the client?
Yes, for me that's very important because I think that we are living in a world of style diktat, and also most of the event planners have huge egos and want to place their own stamps on every event that they organize. That's not my point of view. I think that we have to create a tailor-made event that will fit with the personal and the individualities of the styles of the bride and the grooms. So we have to bring their vision to life, not ours. And that's why for me it's very important to create, each wedding that I do is always different. So that's the idea.
You're so right there, because it's very easy to put our likes and dislikes onto those of our client. And obviously that's something we can't do. If it's something we don't like, it's not important. It's about what our clients like. And that's something we really try and teach our students at the Academy is, if you only want to do a certain style of event, then make sure that you choose a client who's going to like that style of event, because otherwise you are going to have to swallow it up and deal with whatever choices your client makes, because it's their event and not yours as a planner. So yeah, great advice there. Now, what do you believe sets you apart from other wedding planners in France? I mean, you've been in business a long time, so there's clearly something you're doing that puts you up and above other people. What do you think it is that sets you apart?
I think that the first thing is that I have created the company with my mom. So that's a family company. And that creates a big difference because our priority is always given to human, to sensitivity, and we do our work with passion. It's more a passion than a job. And that's very important. Of course, on the other hand, I think that the main difference is that because we have 15 years of experience, so we did like more than 500 weddings. So we have the know-how and we have the network. Most of the very good suppliers know us and are used to work with us, and we are used to work with them. And the network is definitely also one of the main bases of our work.
Yeah. I've heard this from some of the other speakers here. The biggest thing they say is part of their success is the team they have around them and their suppliers. And as you say, the network. And having been in business for as long as you have the ability to command a much higher profile of supplier than somebody who hasn't been in the business for very long. So that definitely would give you an edge. So you co-founded your company, as you said, with your mother, which must have had its challenging moments at some time. And I guess what I wanted to ask you is, if you could offer any advice to anyone going into partnership, family or not family, what advice would you give them about creating a partnership in business? Because that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I think that in our case, it was very, it's much more easiest to have like partner, to have your mom as a partner because we share the same interest. Okay. So that's why it's the main advantage. After that, I think that it could be really an added value to have a partner because it will give the energy and the motivation, and it's always better to be two. But you have to be very careful because it could be difficult, and you have to be sure that you are complementary. Yes. And that you definitely know where is your mission and the one of your partner. And the basis, and that's so important, is the trust. You need to trust each other. And that's why in our case it was so easy because of course we do. But for other people who think about it, I think that they have to be sure that they definitely trust the partner, the potential partner.
Of course. And as you say, you need to make sure that you're complementary. I think one of the biggest things is there's no point in having two excellent planners. Having a planner and a designer, as the relationship you have, is very complementary, and it takes the company to another level. But having two people that can offer exactly the same thing doesn't necessarily work or make sense. Absolutely. Now, many brides still don't believe in the value of a wedding planner, and that is certainly the case in the UK. It's still a little bit of a hard sell, getting people to understand why they should actually bring a planner into the overall planning. So what advice and what would you say to people who don't believe that a wedding planner can be helpful? How would you sell your services to those people?
So that's not so difficult for me because I'm so convinced about the necessity, the obligation of having a wedding planner. Yeah, because I don't really understand how you can have nobody to deal about it. Because at least for the D-Day, I mean, because even if you have some bride and grooms who are very conscientious and hard worker and will do their best to find the best suppliers, but they will never know if they did the right selection, and they will spend so many time and energy to visit tens of venues and discovering on site that it doesn't fit with their expectation or criteria, and asking hundreds of quotations to suppliers. So that's not pleasure. And that's the main concept. We are taking care of all the technical and logistic stuff, and they are just dealing with pleasure and with the things which are funny to do. And so I think that the main concept is not having a wedding planner or not, it's just if you want to enjoy your wedding or not, the preparation, but also the D-Day, because how can you be in the emotion? How can you be in the emotional and the spiritual also element if you are managing the event? It's impossible. It's not compatible. So I mean that because you need somebody to do it. So it will be the bride, and the bride will not be able to enjoy the wedding. So yeah. So I think that I replied to the question.
No, that definitely answers that question. And you're right. Absolutely. It is one of the key selling points is if you want to enjoy your wedding and you want to be able to relax and be in the emotion and the spirit of the day, then you need somebody to be organising all those little logistical nightmares that are going on in the background, no matter how hard you try to eliminate them. So very, very true, and a great way of selling it. So obviously you've been in business, as you say, for 15 years. No mean feat there, but like most people, you will have had your challenges and your triumphs. And I've asked this question to all the speakers. What's been your biggest challenge and what's been your biggest triumph in business to date?
Challenges. I think that it's the fact that we are doing this job and we have making the company grow during 15 years, and it was not so easy because at the beginning, the main challenge was to convince people, as you mentioned, of the necessity of having a wedding planner. And it was really difficult because it's so hard to change a culture. And after that, a few years later, the competitors arrived and it opened the market, so it was really positive for us. But at the same time, we had a new problem because I just remember a trade show where 80% of our contacts were fake, and it was just competitors, who wanted to get some information. So we have decided to not do a trade show anymore.
Yes.
No, and a few years later, and we had increased a lot the number of weddings and the people working in the company, and we were doing like 60 weddings. We were 12 people working all along the year in the team. And one day, I just realized that it was not anymore what I wanted to do, because it was not the approach we had in mind when we had created the company, because we just became a big company, and I was not organizing any more wedding myself because I was managing the team and the company and so on. And there were no passion and hurt anymore. So I just realized that it was not what I wanted to do, to have 10 weddings in a week. And so we have decided to change and to upgrade our offer and to reduce half of the number of weddings and to increase a lot our fees.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You have the experience.
Yeah, and because the idea also is when you are doing biggest weddings, there's more design, more creation, and it's more fun also for us, and you can really create a special link because you have less clients, so more time to dedicate to them. So that was, I think, the most difficult challenge, because it's difficult to decide to reduce the number. And triumph, even if I don't really like this word. So I would say certainly the tears of joy of my bride and groom when they just discover the wedding design, because when they go down the aisle, that's quite common. So, but when they just discover what we have created together. Perhaps once I organized a wedding in only 8 days. It was just crazy, but we succeed in doing it with my team. Or it could be also on a more personal point of view, the fact that I have 3 children. And so that's possible. You can be a wedding planner and having a family, which is important because you need to have a good balance between your personal and professional life.
Great answers to those questions. And, I really quite enjoyed listening to you talk then about the fact that your business has grown. And it really has grown. And the challenge was taking it to that next level and reducing the clients, but upping the fee, which basically means that you are now taking your business to that next level by having higher quality clients. So therefore you can have better paying clients, but less of them. And that's a frightening thing to do. But clearly it's worked for you. And it's something that you can do. And it's something that I know a lot of our viewers aspire to do. So thank you for sharing that with us. And my final question, which again I ask to everybody, is wedding planning is not for the weak. It really isn't. And it's something that a lot of people think would be an easy career choice. So what top tips can you share with us? And what advice would you give to those looking to come into the wedding industry as a wedding planner and start a new career?
That's a good question, because most of the people think that it's an easy job, and that's definitely not true. No. That's really difficult because you have to be strong, you have to be brave, you have to be a hard worker because you work a lot. And also what is very difficult in this job is that you need to have many different skills. I mean that usually you are more dedicated to business or more dedicated to the artistic and the design, and when you are a wedding planner, you have to do both. So you have to be able to organize, to prepare a financial schedule, mentioning all the difference of VAT and different taxes, but at the same time, create a full wedding design and having the sensitivity to understand who the bride and groom are. And also, you need to be very flexible with clients, but very strong with suppliers, because you have to manage sometimes like 10, 20, 30 people on site the day. So really, that's why it's difficult, because usually you don't have all these skills. So you have to learn them. And I think that's the most difficult part. And also because most of the people think that it's full of glam and glitter, I said, and it's not, because when it's 4 a.m. and you are so tired and you work like 20 hours.
Absolutely.
You don't have a cup of champagne in the hand.
No.
And you just want to go to bed, but it's not finished yet. So that's the thing.
Well, thank you for that, Chloe. And you're right. Too many people think of this as a glamorous job, and it really isn't. One of the things we tell our students is that they need to be strong, not just mentally, but physically, because it is a very physically demanding job. As you say, you're on your feet from go to woe, and it is often 2-3 o'clock in the morning before you get home. And you're often lifting things and humping and dumping things and picking up tables and rolling them around the room. And so there is a lot of things that people don't see that goes on behind the scenes. So thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for joining me here on the couch for one of these interviews. I appreciate you taking time out the conference. So thank you.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Thank you very much, Chloe. And again, don't forget to check out the rest of the interviews from the Exotic Wedding Planning Conference here in Barcelona that are all hosted on our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us.